All right, so let's calculate some statistics. So again, I'm going to insert a couple blank lines, and then I'm going to search for our next code chunk. Code chunk searches. So, and you notice there's some other things we could do with this data, but I'm going to skip ahead to calculating the summary statistics, which is using the descriptive statistics code chunk, which we can find in a couple ways. By scrolling down or by searching for it. So I'm just going to search for descriptive. Oops, I had something selected, so it didn't find the code chunk. Let me unclick that selection. All right, descriptive statistics code chunks, and then one response variable for the entire data set. So this will give me some summaries of this response variable. So as we discuss in the discussion assignment, most of the functions we'll use in this class have the same kind of format. So we'll have the function name. Here the function name is favstats, which is just, here are your favorite statistics. Aren't they your favorites already? You already have favorites in the first week of class. And then tilde, which is something like analyze this, look at this thing. We have some kind of response variable, and then we have the name of the data. So data equals data name. So this is another functions, and we just need to tell R what it needs to know in order to analyze our data. It needs to know the name of the function. It needs to know what variable we want to look at, and of course it needs to know the name of the data set, because we could have multiple data sets loaded. So I'm going to copy these lines, paste them into our document, and then we're going to change a couple things. So we know that our data name is countries, and we know that our response variable is data expect both. And then we can run this line of code. Okay, and we got our first error. When you get an error, it means you've tried something. You should give yourself points for every error that you get from R. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, that there's anything bad about you. It just means R didn't understand you, which meant that you were trying to do something good and R just didn't understand what you were doing. So I appear to have gotten the name of my variable wrong. And it's called life.expect.both, I realize, looking back at the instructions. So now I run that line of code, and I get some summary output. So something really weird is happening to some people where they're not getting output from this function. And I'll show you a couple workarounds that seem to work for students so that they can actually view it. So one thing you can do is you can just copy this line of code and paste it down here in the console. The console is ultimately where you're directly interacting with R. The notebook is sort of a file that we set up for humans to make it easier to interact with R. So I can just paste that line of code down into the console, and then I get some output. So that's one way you can work around this issue of this not showing up, which for some students, and I can't figure it out, why isn't showing up. Then the other workaround is to actually knit the document. So this creates a new file with the results of your analysis. So if I knit the document, which is to create that sort of output from your whole file, it'll give you some output as it thinks about and tries to run your code, and then it will create a new file. So, and then it'll automatically open it up for you. So this is another way that you can get that output. So it also shows up here. I have that favstats command, and then here I have the output from that. So that's it for this video, and then we'll move on to the plots.